All right, I got two machines here that share very similar features, but also have some distinct differences. They are similar in the sense that they are both plate-loaded, home-based, multifunctional machines, although I say it loosely because this thing's actually commercial quality and can be used in a commercial grade setting, so I'll probably get to that. But also that they operate through similar lever-based mechanisms. This one, of course, being a lever-based gym, and this one working through a variety of levers, but also operates 360 degrees. One is more the new kid in the block, the Quantum Trainer, aka the QT Pro 2, which I recently did a review for. I'll link that down below. And when I did that review, everyone started comparing this thing to a Powertec Lever Gym. Recently got a Lever Gym. I can link this review down below as well. So I thought it kind of made sense to kind of compare these two. One's more the new school, a little more versatile, a little more expensive compared to the old school classic granddaddy of them all, of lever gyms, the Powertec. And the reason I want to make this video is because they are both great machines in their own right. And if you're in the market for one of them, odds are you maybe didn't see this one because this is somewhat brand new to the US. But if you're in the market for one of these machines, one might stand out one versus another and have some qualities that you might find more or less valuable. And so I will highlight what I think are some of the major differences between these two machines, and of course the similarities, go over the pros and cons, and at the end of the video, I'll recommend which I think would be the best machine to suit your unique needs and goals. If you guys do consider picking one of these up and saving some money, specifically on this one, which I do have an exclusive discount code, I'll link that down below in the description box. Help save you guys some money on shipping, I think $200 off the price of this, or help support me in the channel just by picking up a Powertec. I'm gonna be as honest as I can to really share what I think are the best qualities and traits of each one, because there's not really a clear-cut winner. There are definitely objective winners on some categories, but in other categories, it's gonna be honestly personal preference. First, I'll just go over the major price differences briefly. If you do pick up the Powertec, right now it's roughly on sale still for like $1,400, but generally it's like $1,500. That includes free shipping. It also includes their bench, which is gonna be a necessary component into getting into their whole system of attachments. You guys are gonna see me using preacher curl, the leg curl, leg extension component. They got some other great attachments I'm considering on picking it up, but just know that these two things do not come with it. And then this bad boy is a little bit more expensive. We'll get into this, but this is definitely a more heavy duty built machine. It can handle commercial grade or home use. Can also handle outdoor elements. You can literally leave this thing outside. So it is another $1,500 on top of that. Does also come with a great bench in its own right, I will just say that. Does not come with this lat attachment. That's an add-on you guys will be seeing in this video. He's gonna be releasing that soon, so I will talk about that. Next thing I wanna get into are the build quality differences and roughly the assembly differences between these two machines. I'll first start about the assembly, and you didn't think I really would compare this, but this is one of the biggest things that the Quantum Trainer has going for it, is the fact that you can assemble and disassemble this thing in roughly 15 minutes, which is a godsend. I hope more companies actually do this. It is rock solid. If you saw it move a little bit in the previous videos, because I didn't really fully latch it down some of the screws here. Once it's in there, it is not moving. This thing is 11 gauge steel, commercial quality. Again, you can also use this outside, so in a gym, home gym, outside. Very cool, very crazy that this thing can do that. But again, you're paying for it. Now the Powertec, on the other hand, this is definitely a home fitness machine. It is not a commercial grade machine. I couldn't find on their website the gauge of steel. I actually had to do a little bit of digging and found a Reddit post that said it was made up of 12 gauge steel. And you can kind of tell just by feeling it, although it is nice, really great powder coating. The assembly for this is not a fun process. I would say it's typical of any home gym piece of equipment. A lot of different nuts and bolts, kind of an assembly. But once you kind of put this thing together, we're assuming that it's pretty much not moving anywhere, at least preferably, unless it's some light movement around a gym. Otherwise, not that heavy, I guess, to move around. The advantage of the QT Pro is that the Quantum Trainer is that, not that, for me personally, especially having this small garage gym space and also reviewing product, is I love and respect this is the fact that I can kind of tear this down and set it up. Say I do like some months on, some months off using this. I know everyone's kind of thinking that way, but I definitely want you to think about that as a possible selling point if you're getting one of these two machines. We'll talk about dimensions here in a second. It is a little bigger, but you also have to consider that you can actually store this away if need be. And if you're moving, maybe you change your mind on the location. Right now it's getting nice out. I could bring this thing outside. That to me is a huge major selling point just to kind of consider, not to mention again the build quality differences. I'm gonna flash the dimensions on the screen for the Quantum Trainer compared to the Powertec, so you guys can check that out for yourselves. but just know, sometimes these dimensions are based on some different readings. For instance, the Powertec is counting the whole length, considering the actual bench itself, so I don't count that. So I thought I'd just kind of basically extend the arms out about horizontal to give you guys an idea, stretching that out visually so you can just kind of see it. But from one end of the machine, even with the far anchor with the straight bar over there, to like this handle, it's about 75 inches. If we go roughly kind of the back of this machine to a handle, we're looking at about 38 inches. So decent distance there. You guys can see that visually. Now, one thing I will highlight, since we're talking about dimensions, is that I can get these things out of the way fairly easily. If there wasn't a wall there, I actually do have this sit against that back bar here. The problem with the Powertec is you can't anchor it up here. You have to anchor it down below or something like that. I could throw this against the wall. That is a potential option, but just keep in mind that while these arms are big, you can kind of get them out of the way fairly easy. Now, with regards to height, just to kind of give you guys a reference, I am 6 feet tall. I know it's kind of hard to see the comparison here with this leg press in the background. If you put the arms fully extended, and granted I can't right now because I got the lat pulled on attachment kind of locked in, it would probably sit a little higher if you were just curious how high this thing goes, but you're looking at something like roughly 83 inches. And then on the Powertec over here, I said this in my review for that, you can only raise it up about that high. So we'll get to that later. You can't do things like pull-ups or anything kind of crazy like that. But if you look at the top of this machine, you kind of got the reading earlier. You're looking at something around 77 inches. And then with the width, you guys have those dimensions again on the screen for your comparison, but kind of some practical comparisons here. Again, bear in mind, this is a vertical loader, so that has some pros and cons with it. We'll get to that. So that kind of shortens the wingspan down a little bit, but I'd say roughly you're looking at 39-ish inches. If you want to count that little kind of buttress out to the side, we're talking a little more than that. But if I'm just eyeballing again this one, you're looking a little bit longer, roughly 57 inches if you're counting these horizontal loaders that are shooting off to the side in the Powertec. Now getting into some of the major functional differences between these two machines. Let's first just talk about the most obvious thing, which is the whole lever arm comparison between the Powertec and the Quantum Trainer. The Powertec is a pure lever arm in the sense it just goes up and down. You can take this little pin out there and use them kind of interchangeably. Here, you can certainly go up and down, but as the owner Glenn rightfully said, it is not a true lever arm. This thing moves 360, which makes it very, very unique. I will say you can do all the major lever-based exercises that you could do on the Powertec, you certainly can do on the Quantum Trainer. And I would say we're getting a little bit in some pro and con territory back and forth. In my opinion, the Quantum Trainer performs all those lever-based exercises, the presses, the rows, pulls, etc., much better because it is so fluid. Now, personally, when I'm using the Powertec, I actually prefer to not take that pin out and leave them just kind of locked in. I mentioned in my review this likes to kind of move a little bit. I actually wish this was more secure, and I guess the old school lever gyms, or Powertec, sorry, they were just locked in as one unit, and I think I'd probably prefer that on this. So I do like it the way it kind of feels when it is fixed. And that's not the case with the QT Trainer. That little bar in the back, while it's definitely useful for a variety of things to have it, I often don't use it as much because it's kind of a pain to kind of take in and out. Not a giant deal, you do get used to it, but it's not nearly as easy to throw this thing on here, and not to mention, I'll get to this, well, let's get to it now. One of the things I like about the Powertec, that I said this in the initial review, is how you can change exercises on the fly with this pin, and that makes it easy to kind of rack, unload weights. Here, if I ever want to unload something, I have to take the whole thing off, put the weights on, load it back on, adjust this setting, just use this. Not a big deal, but you just adjust it like that and then put it back on. You certainly would get used to it the more you use it, but I will say that's why I like to use the Quantum Trainer with the free arms and not use the fixed bar. And if I'm gonna say which one feels the best, where it counts, as far as for bench presses, again, overhead presses, and just those core exercises, not to mention all the single joint stuff you can use with this arm since it isn't fixed. That's kind of the trade-off, not having a pulley. I can do some great arm stuff as well. I actually think this feels much better. If you're comparing a basic chest press, incline, straight press, flies especially, now you can't do flies on here, you can get a fly attachment for the bench, but you can do flies that feel just as good, if not better, than honestly with a pair of dumbbells. In fact, the owner Glenn often would tell me this thing is another set of adjustable dumbbells. And it didn't really click until I kind of really thought about what he's saying. There are a lot of core foundational dumbbell exercises that you honestly can replicate in here and feel excellent, such as lateral raises, even frontal raises. You kind of have to get yourself positioned a certain way to the machine, but pretty much anything you can do with dumbbells, you can do with this thing, not to mention the fact of these kind of swivel arms. Now, not to just give this thing total lip service, I will just say again, there is a kind of a charm to this machine. It does make it kind of unique. There is some subtle differences, but if I were to say on paper, objectively, which one really hits, kind of lights up, as far as the chest, deltoids, and even the back for the rows, because rows in here are not good unless you're elevating to something, I'd have to say definitely the Quantum Trainer wins out on that. And then for those foundational leg exercises, for say the squats, lunges, you can do belt squats in here. I'll just talk the squats and lunges. That's pretty much the basic stuff you can do in here. I do love the way this thing feels. I love the fact that I can rack and unrack the squat when I want to. I can adjust it fairly easily if I wanted to, even for hinge-based patterns. Can't really do a good like Romanian deadlift or kind of hinging-based deadlift-ish type of pattern on a Powertec unless you're elevated. Here, you can do that. The only negative is, again, the whole rack setup with the bar. Not a giant deal, but it's gonna slow things down a little bit, getting that thing set up. And if you wanna adjust exercise in the fly, a little more cumbersome on the Quantum Trainer as compared to a Powertec. The other giant difference, of course, between these two is that you don't have a pulley with the Quantum Trainer versus the Powertec you do, and that makes that very versatile for doing things like arm, tricep press downs, of course, lat pull downs. Having that fixed bench in there to lock your legs in works great. This is an add-on, and Glenn is perfecting this. Right now, this is a vertical loader, which isn't a giant deal, believe it or not. There is a way to kind of get behind this and take it off, but rightfully so, Glenn has made more of a horizontal loader that he's tweaking for the lat pull down, so it will be different than this one. Be that as it may though, this thing actually works great for press downs and lat pull downs with their added kind of adjustable leg pulley extension thing. You're gonna see that right here. This will be another add-on Glenn's gonna be sending. It is actually a cool attachment in its own right that it actually can attach to any bench. It was a little wonky at first attaching it how it was until Glenn showed me specifically for leg curls. I actually put it in an incline position and that worked out really good. So feels great. It's actually a very functional, robust little attachment. Pretty creative. You can actually slide in this little crevice and lock your feet in pretty good. And kind of secured my feet in this nice little situation where I get locked in between the two pads for things like lat pull downs or close grip pull downs. To further highlight the stability components and also to get into some other unique features, I'll talk about the differences in bodyweight exercises on these two machines. So of course, you can do those on a Powertec. Many people have shown videos and examples of that. You can do things like dips, low rows, bodyweight rows. Pull-ups are another matter. You can't go that high with this thing. With this stability, I'm gonna show you guys kind of the rocking. So right now we can say we're gonna go here and do dips. You can see how this thing likes to move. I made that comparison with the GMWD Lever Gym, which does not do that. You can get little feet to kind of prevent that, I think. They're an add-on, but this thing, likes to move a little bit. On the Quantum Trainer, you can adjust these handles. This thing is rock solid. You could pretty much do anything on here. It feels good. I can do pull-ups. I can actually even put in a suspension trainer up here. Glenn's talked about that. You can get the straight bar or even these bars. I've attached a suspension trainer up here and tried it and it works out fine. This thing, again, is commercial grade quality, so it's kind of a different comparison. But as far as doing things like basic pull-ups, rows, of course, dips, this thing is definitely be outperforming that, no question. Now these are both plate loaders, but one is more of a horizontal loader and one is a vertical loader. I say more so because in the future this will be more horizontal with this lat pull down, but it is much easier, as you can imagine, to load horizontally than vertically up and down, especially in the type of weight plates you're using. You can see these really great quality plates here, those Strength Co weights I've reviewed in the channel, great USA made plates. They are tight though, and that's an issue with the vertical loaders on here. They can get kind of snug and tight. There's not really an area to grip them. So I like using something like this with handles for the vertical loading plates. If you watch my videos here, I'm kind of staggering the plates for a reason because it gets really tough to kind of pull those off. But that's there for a reason. You want a vertical loader. It saves some space when you're doing stuff. But one of the unique features, and probably one of the biggest features that's kind of stood out to me, is this attachment here. So doing a variety of landmine exercise, which I never really honestly was much of a fan of in the gym whenever I had a landmine thing set up, but I've been having a lot of fun with that. They only give you one, wish they gave you two, but the reason I point this out is that you're gonna want obviously a vertical loader for something like that, say with landmines. So in summary, if you're looking for the cheapest, most affordable option, the most compact option, and you're just sticking to some of the basic foundational exercises and want a multi-use machine in your home gym that's not going to break the bank and you're not going anywhere, the Powertec is probably going to be the machine for you. However, if you want something that has a little more exercises at your disposal, a little bit more fluid, definitely more robust, but has the issue of the vertical loaders, which takes a little more time to kind of load and unload. If you don't mind kind of getting somewhat creative and trying some different things, and I think you'd really take full advantage of the Quantum Trainer versus the Powertec. At the end of the day though, they are both really similar, especially if you're sticking to those basic exercises like most people are, your basic body part exercises. You will find value out of one of these machines. I would say at the end of the day, it just kind of comes down to cost, the breakdown setup, and just some of those subtle features I highlighted in this video. If you guys have any questions, thoughts, opinions, definitely share those down below in the comment section. Would love to hear them from you guys, especially if you're an owner of Powertec. Hard to give this guy good justice though over here in the Quantum Trainer because it is brand new to this scene. That's why I want to make this video to give you guys some other comparisons to stuff that's already out there on the market. At the very least though guys, if you like this video, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing. If you want to pick any of these things up, help support me in the channel, the links are down below, especially if you want to save some money. I'm the Quantum Trainer. Thank you guys for watching.